Hey guys, in this video I'm going to review the Mountain Hardwear Field Day 16 liter pack. I've been using it for about a year now, on trail and at work. Today I'm breaking it down across 5 categories so you know exactly what you're getting before you spend your money. We're covering durability, how this thing actually holds up after real use, not just what the tag says. Storage and organization, every pocket, every compartment, and whether it's actually useful. Comfort, how it feels loaded up on a real hike, not just standing in the store. Versatility, because this bag claims it can go straight from the trail to the office, and I'm going to tell you if that's actually true. And finally, value. Is this bag actually worth the price, and who is it really for? I'm going to rate each of these 5 categories out of 5 stars, so you'll have a clear, honest breakdown. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly whether this pack belongs in your gear closet or if you should keep looking. Let's get into it. Let's start with durability. The outer shell is made with a Cordura nylon ripstop shell. It is lightweight and super durable, which is exactly the kind of fabric you want on a pack that's actually going to see trail use. The built-in crosshatch thread pattern stops small punctures or cuts from expanding into large rips. It is designed to withstand harsh rubbing, scraping, and friction. Also featured is a stretch woven front dump pocket and dual water bottle pockets made out of a 4-way stretch nylon plain weave. Their website states that it's 86% nylon and 14% elastane. This bag uses a foam back panel and shoulder straps with a mesh overlay, and from use I've noticed that it does a pretty good job of getting airflow to your back and keeping it dry. Moving into the bag, the fabric lining uses recycled plain weave polyester. After all of my trips with this bag, the materials have held up incredibly well. I've had no rips and no scuffs, nothing to make this bag look beat up or worn out. Moving on to the zippers now. This bag uses these high quality YKK zippers. I've noticed that on the trail and use when I'm at the office and at work. I've had no snags or anything. They don't get hooked up on anything and they perform quite well, so all good there. Now let's talk about how this bag performs in the weather. In the rain and the snow, this bag has held up phenomenally. Since we're using that nylon outer shell, it does repel some water and light rain. However, I could see how with some heavier rains and downpours that some water might get through this bag, but in the snow, this held up completely fine. All my gear stayed nice and dry, so no problems there. This outer material here, it will soak through with water. However, I usually just stuff like my trekking poles or even just a rain jacket in there, so that's not too big of a deal for me. So overall, this bag has held up great on trail and in the office. No materials have stretched out or worn. The stitching on the shoulder straps have held up nice. And my only concern is that with this handle right here, it is a little bit thin. So maybe if the bag is loaded up with a lot of weight, you might see some wear and tear there, but so far it's held up good. With that being said, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 on the durability. Even though the materials may soak through with a little bit of water, I have not run into any issues with that so far. In conclusion, this bag has held up super well. The materials are super durable. I've noticed no issues. You can throw around this bag on trail. It's been scraped against rocks, trees, everything you can name. It's held up exceptionally well. In the office, of course, I've had no issues there. This bag can kind of do it all when it comes to durability wise. I'd give it a 5 out of 5. So let's talk about the storage now. Starting on the outside, we have this carabiner clip and that goes straight into our front dump pouch. I typically use this for like hoodies, sweaters, my rain jacket, but what I actually use this for the most is for my trekking poles, where I just kind of stick them in there like this and typically just let them hang out like that. You do have these loops right here that are for your trekking poles. However, I found them kind of difficult to get the trekking pole to sit in there, and then to tie it down with these tie downs right here. So I typically just throw stuff in there like snacks and all that kind of stuff. On either side of the bag, you do have these water bottle holders. They are kind of small, but they will fit a full-size shaker bottle like that. So it does work for the office. I would imagine it fits an Nalgene, but I don't have a Nalgene. So that's good for me. Moving to this front pocket, this is a fleece lined pocket. I typically just throw wallets, keys, any small items that I have in there, and it does it very well, and I have easy access to it. Moving to the inside of the bag, you have this nice big back pouch that can fit a 13-inch MacBook. That's what I use for work. You can also fit a water bladder in here, and it has an attachment for that. And then there's a little port in the side of this bag where you're able to put your hose through there. You just have some smaller pockets. You could fit like an iPad in this one. You have a zipper pouch there. And then you also have these two elastic pockets that you can fit pens, flashlights, anything kind of like that. And then you also have more space to just throw miscellaneous items in there. I don't really have any concerns about the storage. It kind of, for 16 liters, it stores what you need and nothing more. However, I do wish that there was some pockets on these shoulder straps right here. I like to be able to put my phone or a flashlight or even like a pocket knife in there. And then another thing to note, this bag does have a hip belt, but as you can see, there's no hip belt pockets, so you are unable to store anything in there. However, on a 16-liter pack, I think that's kind of expected. With the compact nature of this bag, I'm going to give it a rating of 4 out of 5 stars, just because I wish there was a pocket on the front shoulder straps or on the hip belt. So moving on to comfortability now, I've packed the bag how I would normally pack it for a hike. So I have my rain jacket in this dump pouch, water bottle, trekking poles, and miscellaneous items inside the pack. Putting the pack on, there's no real hot spots on the shoulder straps. It sits just very naturally. And then we have our hip belt that we can fasten, as well as our chest strap. So this takes even more weight off my shoulders and makes an already light pack even more comfortable. Here's how it looks on me. Even on 8 to 10 hour hikes, I've noticed that there's no shoulder fatigue or that the hip belt is not rubbing against my stomach. So it's overall a very comfortable pack. I do want to talk about the foam plate on the back here. So we have a foam back panel with a mesh overlay, and then inside of the foam, there's these channels that run along the foam back pad. For the most part, this pack does a very good job of keeping a lot of airflow going back there and keeping it nice and dry. However, I've noticed that in very hot weather, you still will sweat through. So for me, that's not really a big concern, but for your day-to-day commute, this will be totally fine. You'll have no issues with a sweaty back. So overall, for comfort and fit, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Some things I wish we just had some slightly wider shoulder straps, and then due to that long hiking ability, your back still will sweat a little bit, so I think a 4 out of 5 is justified. So let's talk about versatility now. This pack is my daily backpack and what I use every single day to go to and from class, to work, to hiking the trails, to the gym, whatever you name, this is what I bring my bag to. I've noticed that this pack does really well for just day-to-day life, and especially with that 16 liters. Originally when I bought it, I thought it might be a little bit too small. I've noticed that I've had no problems for the office. I'm able to fit my work stuff like computer and all of that in there just fine. And then for the trail, I've noticed I've still been able to get everything packed into my bag. And it even kind of forces me to pack only what I need, because if I had a bigger bag, I would probably bring some unnecessary stuff that I just don't need. And this bag is a good reminder to only take what I need. So for versatility, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. This bag can really do it all. So for our final category, let's talk about value of this bag. So this bag is optioned in many different capacities. I have the 16 liter. I believe there's a 22 and 28 liter bag. I bought this with my own money for about $70 on REI. They had a sale going on. And I think for the price, there really is no better bag that you can use. I've used some North Face bags that are a little bit bigger, but this one, with how slim it is and compact, for 70 bucks, I just don't think you can beat it. The materials are good, the durability is good, it fits everything I need, and you can kind of just go anywhere with this bag and not have to worry about it breaking down on you. So for value, I would say 5 out of 5 stars.
After assessing all of our categories, here is our final score, giving us a 4.6 out of 5 stars.
So, in conclusion, I think this is a fantastic bag, and it'll meet all your needs for your just daily life, going to the office, going to the trail, and all things like that. And I would say if you're someone who needs a bag that can kind of just do it all without breaking the bank, I would say the Mountain Hardwear Field Day 16 liter pack is a phenomenal choice. Now, who I think might be better suited looking for a different bag would be someone if you wanted a more sport specific bag. So if you wanted a dedicated trail use bag, I would say maybe opt for something with a little bit more capacity and storage. I think the materials of this bag are fine, but maybe opt for one of the bigger Mountain Hardwear bags. I would say for the office though, this bag is phenomenal. It fits all your work needs. It fits your computer, your tablets, and everything like that. So if you need a good do-it-all bag, the Mountain Hardwear Field Day 16 liter pack is the right one for you.